You're busy, you've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices with Vicki McManus-Peterson and Dr. Chad Johnson.
Everybody, welcome to Everyday Practices. Today we have a special guest, Alan Mead. And you know Alan Mead from Dental Hacks, but of course he's also a clinical dentist. And so without any further ado, Alan, thanks for joining us.
Yes, of course. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you over the phone and all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was excited about meeting you on this podcast because it gives us a chance to connect before we meet at the Voices of Dentistry. Can you tell us more about the beginning of Voices in Dentistry and how that came about?
Yeah, okay. So Voices of Dentistry, since there are no other of the planners of the Voices of Dentistry on this call, I can tell the story any way I want.
That's right. The fish was this big.
The Voices of Dentistry literally leapt from my brain to the reality.
Unilaterally. That's awesome.
I had no help in thinking it up whatsoever. What happened was the Voices. Okay, so we'd been podcasting for a while, and we knew Mark and we knew Justin, and actually Sean Vandeviver, who he now has a podcast, but at the time he just used to be in our orbit. We all thought, man, we should start a meeting where we get all the podcast people in one place, because as you guys can kind of tell, there's a dental community, yes, but there's like a dental podcasting community as well. Like there's just a group of people that are particularly engaged that, and in one way that they sort of are connected is through dental podcasts. So we thought, let's give this a try. We started it in Nashville. Here's the deal. We, not knowing anything about putting a meeting together, we started late probably. I think every dental meeting, if you're planning one, you start late just because you started, I think, essentially. Right. I don't. Have you ever heard anyone say, "No, I'm way ahead of this. I'm way ahead." So basically, for 3 years running now, we've been feeling like we're late, but we started in Nashville because that's where I shouldn't admit this. This is a little. That's where we could get a spot. I mean, it was centrally located.
Yes,
easy to get to, and we got a place because it was
good barbecue.
Yeah,
good downtown.
Exactly. It really.
And we were all near Opryland.
Yeah.
Come on.
We were in a renovated holodome, essentially. It was not a bad place, but it was not.
I was there. It was a great place.
Yeah, it was. I mean, what I liked is that there were a lot of us. We kind of filled the place. If you had wanted to, you could literally go from a live podcast directly into cannonballing into the pool. I like that. They were that close. That was good. So
that is cool.
I mean, it was great. We had a really good time. What happened was it happened. A lot of people came. More people than we thought would came. There was magic there. The idea of these coming to meet these people that spend time in your ears and your head has sort of clicked, and it was a great meeting. Vicki was there. It was a great meeting. It was magic. I don't even know how to describe it other than I've never felt so like it's the least dental meeting you'll ever go to. Would you agree, Vicki?
I would agree. It's it kind of transports you back to college where you're just hanging out with your buddies and learning the new cool stuff. Yes. So it's like you take enough classes together, you've got some stuff in common. That's the dental part, but everything else is just fun.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like last year, for instance, we have, I guess Friday night of the meeting is we typically have sort of a reception party, and we were in Scottsdale, Arizona last year, so the weather was better. The resort was bigger and nicer, and everyone still stayed on Friday night. It was like the party.
Oh, cool.
They stayed for all of it. They stayed for all of it because there's tons of live podcasting going on. I mean, it was a party. This year is going to be even better with the reception. We literally have added, I can't believe I'm even admitting this. This is Jason's fault. This is my partner in crime's fault. We added on the main stage room. We weren't really using that for the reception. The party was kind of in the main podcasting area. We've added karaoke. We're doing karaoke on the Friday night party.
Yes.
Because here's the deal. Jason does karaoke quite well and quite often. I don't, but I'm convinced I'm better than he is. So the story is that I think he and I are sort of we probably have a battle royale of some sort. But we've also got people who actually know how to sing, or people who may drink enough that they think.
Absolutely.
I was going to say my one request on this is that Justin Mooney goes first.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to hear it.
I don't want to hear him at
to
the end of the night.
Once it gets to the worm, I don't want to hear it.
I agree. I'm with you. Exactly. So we're adding that. We're doing all of the speakers are on the main stage this year. There is no second stage for like main speakers. We're doing much shorter talks. Like it's more TED Talks, 20, 30 minutes, something like that. And we have had some speakers go, I can't believe I'm only getting 20 minutes. I'm like, dude, everyone's getting 20 minutes. And
you know what I say, Alan?
Bring your A game.
I say if a preacher gets 20 minutes to save your soul, we ought to be able to say what we can say,
I agree.
right? Even in
That's the line
don't get
from here
more
on
than
out.
20 minutes.
Exactly. That's the line
All
from
a
here
preacher
on.
gets to save your soul. Go.
Well, Alan, as you know, too, you get 2 hours for a new patient and you're going to take 2 hours. You get 4 hours for a new patient, you're going to take 4 hours. You get 20 minutes for a new patient, you're going to rock it out in 20 minutes. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
By the way, anyone who's got 4 hours for a new patient, if that new patient still likes you after 4 hours, you are super lucky.
I just made that number up in
No one
case
should ever spend
wondered.
that. No one needs to spend that much time with me. I'm going to tell you that right now.
That's how they roll in Iowa.
Yep.
No, certainly not. I don't know even where. I might as well have just said 7 hours because it was just a ridiculous number.
I think how much more thorough you could be with 7 hours. That's what I would.
Let's do it. You and me, the 7 hour dentist
7
challenge,
hour
challenge. It'll be like the mannequin challenge redone, just very
really slowly. Exactly.
So Alan, let me ask, the beauty of having a podcast, and the typical podcast listener, your avatar would be the person who's awfully busy. They might be dental students, they might be dentists on the drive, they might be just listening to this while they're doing one thing or another. Do you find that that's the kind of podcast listener that you're having come on? And now that you are 200 plus episodes in, what to you is the advantage of podcasts, and why are those becoming so popular?
It's really funny. I have this argument with podcasters that decide they really need to do video. They want video podcasts. I'm like, that's cool. I mean, because dentistry is a visual medium. But here's the thing. I figure the person who's listening to our podcast is driving back and forth to work, more than likely. Mm-hmm. Driving back and forth to work, they're exercising, they're gardening, or they're a homeless person. And I don't think we do that well in the homeless person thing, because they're not that interested in.
They're an untapped market.
I'm assuming. Yeah, it's a tough market though, because they don't have a lot of like resources. Disposable income.
Maybe that's the recently divorced dentist.
There you go. That homeless person. But I think our people who put us in their ears because they're doing other things. Like they basically, doing the dishes is more interesting when you're listening to a podcast. I'm convinced. Right. So when I hear people say, "Oh, we need to expand into video," I'm like, I get it, but I don't think looking at people talking to a microphone is all that interesting. So unless I have a slideshow, or unless I've done something visual, and I mean, I'm lucky to have it together enough to record for the audio. So I certainly am not going to be ready for the video. I mean, that's our avatar. I think for walking to school, driving to work, whatever. That's who's listening to us.
Yes,
and I think we do get it. We do okay with dental students. I would argue that probably there are other podcasts. I mean, I'm glad if they listen, but. There are some podcasts that are very, very good for dental students that are kind of geared towards what you need to know before you get out. And we have some stuff like that, but I don't think we are pointed directly at that.
Well, I also want to know, it's a little trick here, but like, who came up with the name Dental Hacks? That's awesome.
So this is a great story. Our idea was like, hey, we're going to do a podcast. It's like life hacks, but it's dental hacks. But of course, the term hack in dentistry typically has negative connotations. Jason talked me into it, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I realized after about 3 episodes, I'm like, that's a terrible name, because people don't really want to be called a hack, right? But by the time we realized that it was a horrible name, it had already stuck. We couldn't really keep it.
Right.
People still have a little hang up about us talking about hacks. I'm not saying that you are a hack if you listen to us.
No.
But we like to. I mean, the idea for us was not to start a podcast and explain step by step how you're going to do a full mouth rehab. But the idea was for dentists to kind of commiserate about the everyday dumb stuff that happens to them, and have some ideas on how to make dentistry more fun, more profitable, a little bit better. So hacks, like that. That's where we came from.
So
I
Alan,
immediately loved the name from the beginning. I did not
So
think.
you understood it. You were like,
I got it.
one
I
of
got it.
four
Because
people
on
that understood
Facebook,
it.
you see videos. On YouTube, you see videos of hacks of solving a problem or another, and you go, "Huh, I didn't really have a problem before." But then I watched that, and it's like that probably could save, cut my time in half or in 3 times of this and that, or make it flow a lot quicker. And you brought it up. What kind of practice management stuff have you done before? To build in your acumen with that aspect.
I'm one of those guys that I delegate so much, and I think that is that a hack maybe, but it's because I don't like to do the stuff myself. Like, you got 2 different kinds of people in the world. And then you have me. The people who really focus heavily on clinical, I probably am more like that. The people who are really business focused and the clinical stuff is okay, fine. That's fine, but they really prefer the business stuff. I'm definitely more of a clinical guy, and thus, in some ways, the hack is to find people that are good on the business side for you.
Yes,
because I'm not. I think I could be okay at it, but I'm not as interested in that.
Vicky, he brought up my favorite word. You know that.
I know.
Delegation. I freaking love, mastering delegation. And of course, we're all works in progress, but
sure.
So, so tell me about your clinical practice, because most of the time people are listening to you get to be the host. And so you being the guest, hopefully is fun for you today, because we want to know, for your clinical practice, and then we'll go into life and stuff like that. Because we were earlier talking about your horses, and also we'll let the listeners in on that. But so tell me, what's your practice look like? How many ops do you have? How, kind of fill us in on your practice.
I have what would be considered a pretty small practice. I have 4 ops.
Okay.
5 are plumbed, but 4 have chairs. I actually turned the 5th op into a. It's really funny. At the time, I'm like, oh, I should do this. It's a photo. It's for photos, set up for photos.
Yes.
So I take clinical photos.
AACD style.
Well, yeah, except I'm not really there. I'm not. I mean, it gets less use than I like, but it sounds impressive when I say that. When I have a photo room, then other dentists go, oh, you really take a lot of photos. So
you should also say that it's for telemetry and for rocket science, and
rocket science for full mouth wax ups that I like to do. I do that.
Yes,
I do that between patients actually.
Absolutely.
So no, I mean I work out of 2 ops. I have 2 hygienists. It's a small practice. I am the least ambitious dentist you've ever had on this show. I'm not saying that proudly, but I kind of am saying it proudly only because it's worked out for me. I like to think of myself as being born at the right time, because I got out in 1997 and I had $85,000 in debt and thought I was in really deep trouble debt-wise. And now you realize they call that freshman year.
Yes.
Or that, they don't even call it freshman year. So I was in a position where I bought a practice early. Maybe not the best choice for me at the time, but I bought a practice. I've owned the same practice for 21 years.
How far out of school were you?
Like not even a year.
It's okay. I opened straight out of school, so I just wondered.
There you go.
And I have a question. Be transparent with us. Do you have your school debt paid off?
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, my thing was, okay, my accountant, when in the late 90s, like, you came out with really good interest rates, but then they'd let you refinance it over a longer period of time at an even lower interest rate. and like, you're like, okay, so I refinanced over a lower interest rate, and my accountant would never let me pay any more than the minimum on it, because he's like, this is the lowest interest rate you're going to get on anything ever.
Yes.
But yet, if I still think it was over 15 years or something, and I think I just by living long enough, I paid it off. It was like I mean, at this point, I probably pay more, in like dumb little fees every month than my payment for student loans were anyhow. So it was for me, it was like, I'm looking at people where they've got $4,000 and $5,000 nut on there. I never had that. I had like $450 a month, and it was manageable. And I paid it off. But it was one of those things where when I paid it off, it wasn't like a big party because it wasn't even that big of a hunk.
Right.
Whereas now it's like life is so different now. Like,
you would have felt like it was a participation trophy to have gone out.
Yeah. But the other thing is I bought my practice for a steal. I bought my practice for
tell us
$87,500.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's what you pay for a car, man.
I know. I would never pay that for a car, but nonetheless, that's like a lot of people are thinking, that's $87,500
or a laser.
I wouldn't.
Seriously.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay that for a car either. But a laser, yeah.
But the best thing ever is that was my lowball offer. Actually, that's not quite true. I come in, this is crazy, because the guy that I bought the practice from left the month before I came in, like called his office, called his team and said, I'm not coming in anymore. And that was it, which is one retirement strategy. I would give that to you. I mean, you might do it a little differently, but that's what happened. And so that practice had like no one in it for a long time. They were like doing hygiene with no doc, and they were referring people who needed stuff to other dentists in the area. And so long story short, I was working for my dad, and it was getting slow. It was, he didn't have quite enough for me to do. And so someone he was using as like a consultant had said, well, there's a practice in Saginaw that's kind of looking for someone. And so I went over there to associate, which is to say, be someone with a dental degree in the office while they were doing stuff. And I saw, the guy liked to patch. The guy didn't. It was a diamond in the rough.
You got a lot of good low-hanging fruit.
There was. And so, and his thought was, if you want to buy it, you buy it for $100,000 and call it good. So I stayed for a month and I lowballed him at $75,000, and he almost threw me out of the room. And so we met in the middle at $87,500. And
are you still at talking terms occasionally with him?
He died.
Oh, okay.
I had nothing to do with his death, though, so that's good.
Yes.
But, and Chad's question: did you pay off that debt too?
Oh yeah, I paid that.
I want to know.
I mean, like that was
inquiring minds.
Literally, like my student debt and the debt on my practice were almost the identical amount, and yes, I paid them both off.
That's awesome.
So here's the thing: I'm broken because of that. I'm a guy who's super averse to debt because the big things in a dentist's life, I didn't pay that much for, or I didn't have that much of a loan on.
Right.
So like when people are talking about buying practices for $500,000, I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Right.
I haven't done that.
It's like talking to your great grandpa or something about getting a pop, and he's like 99 cents for a soda. That's
exactly right.
I paid a nickel.
It's exactly right. But then here's the thing though. So as on that end, when I say I'm not that ambitious, I never had to work that hard. I never had, like, someone who's got a $5,000 nut to pay their student loans off knows they got to produce, right? Like, right. And at the time I didn't really know that. So this like sort of lack of ambition has really worked for me in a lot of this is not, I would say this is not a typical story for who you're talking to. So that's why I have kind of a small practice. I work at a slower pace because I can get away with it.
Are you doing 4 days a week?
Yeah, I do. I'm at 3.5, but
that's
it's
fine.
It's 4. I got to drive. I got to make the 40-minute one-way commute 4 days a week. So yeah, it's 4 days.
So I want you to know, I heard on a recent podcast that you were talking about going down to the Spear Education Center, and I was for about 5 years I did CEREC Mentor Group down there.
Okay.
Do you have any technology in your office? I mean, when you talk about lazy, I'm starting to, it's piquing my interest. How lazy are you? Because I'm looking at this and I'm just like, you must be uber efficient. But at the same time, like if you're working out of 2 chairs and then you've got 2 hygiene and you also love delegation, which at that point I wouldn't think that you'd need to be, but you still love it, then there must be something that like you're doing extra efficient. Like what are you delegating?
Okay, so here's the thing. I have a microscope in every operatory, including my hygienist.
Okay.
So I love to work through the microscope when I can. I'm not going to say I do all of it, but I'm a big scope guy. I have a scanner. I use the 3M scanner for Crown and Bridge. The delegation's more on the business side. I actually am a little bit more hands-on clinically. So I probably am a little slower and delegate less than a lot of people do clinically, and I have no beef with that. But so I take my time that way. But I think the scopes are a big deal in my office because I show everyone, like when I do hygiene exams, I actually have it up on a giant monitor on the ceiling that the patient can watch while I'm doing exams and stuff like that. It's a really good way to show patients their teeth. It's a really good way to show them.
Like on video, real-time video.
Yeah, and then actually I record the video too, which is kind of cool because you turn yourself, when you go back and look at the video and realize that you can't see what you wanted to see, all of a sudden you turn yourself into a little dental cinematographer. And so you want to make sure you're showing it's great for your patients, even better for you if you want to use these videos to treatment plan later to make sure you can see everything. So there's that challenge. It's kind of fun. But yeah, we have some technology.
Do you think that 3M scanner is because you're a Minnesota grad or?
Maybe.
I love SoftFlex discs. Don't get me wrong.
No, SoftFlex discs it's really funny too, because my dad never understood the SoftFlex disc thing. I've never done dentistry without him. I've never
No.
like I had them in dental school, so I thought that was just what people used. I didn't know that there were other
And in
options.
school, you probably used them like they were like a Kleenex. You just throw them away and boom.
I didn't realize how expensive.
No, I know.
You ever have your assistant drop one on the floor? Like, no!
I know. 5-second rule.
I know. 3M, I have a lot of good feeling with 3M. 3M's, I don't know how they're going to end up with the scanner, because their scanner, it works great. Accuracy's killer, but like the scanner space is growing so exponentially. They're going to have to make that more feature rich for them to stay in the market, though. But it's working for me right now. I'd love to get into something with a little bit more color, maybe powderless, but shoot, I like it a lot. And it's funny. You got to remember, the bar, at least in where I am, and I'm in Saginaw, Michigan, which is a smaller town, and it's not,
More than
fucking, it's a low bar for technology. You don't like patients. And the other thing is, even if they have technology, if they're not showing their patients why they're using it, how they're using it, the patients don't know that they have technology. Patients don't know that they're keeping up, right? Like if you can't show that to them for instance, I show them their teeth on a video camera on a giant monitor. You think they think I'm high tech? It's not high tech. That's analog lenses on a cool arm with a good light, like in a decent camera. It's not like the TVs cost nothing now compared to what they used to cost.
Some people think with that central air would be
exactly
high tech.
I hate the office.
You
we have plumbing.
awful.
Well, no, it's not a put down on Michigan. I'm just saying, some people would be like, hey, wow, you've got heat in the building. I mean, they're impressive. Like you said, it's a low bar.
The low bar with some folks. Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
Oh, that's we have some technology up here. Yeah.
Well, Vicki, I was kind of curious when we got Alan on in talking about workflow. And Vicki, as you know, my production when I started with Productive Dentist Academy was, I think, $440 an hour. And Alan, you'll get a kick out of this. I thought, I looked at my schedule and I counted up in 10-minute increments on EagleSoft how much of the day I was actually working as opposed to kind of just sitting around. And what I found was I was like, okay, I'm doing $440 an hour, but I'm really busy 2/3 of the time. I mean, it was literally if I was open, 60 minutes, 40 of those minutes I was actually doing something, but then 20 of the minutes I was just doing nothing.
Yep.
And so I was like, I'm actually kind of making
I look at that and I'm like, that's doing pretty good. There can be a lot of sitting around in a dental office. And if you're not on top of it, that's exactly right.
Yeah, because I'm sure there are some people, Vicki, as you've said before, the average office does 1 crown and 2 fillings a day. And I'm just like, man, that would, it blows my mind to think, that could be 20% full for the day, aside from some checks here and there. But I mean, you can only watch so much YouTube, before you're
Listen, Chris, there's a lot of YouTube out there. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So Alan, I over the last few years have peaked over the 1,000 an hour, and I've tried, doing the 1,500 an hour kind of stuff. And, I found my sweet spot, which, currently to me is more like around the 1,200, 1,150 mark and stuff like that. And then, some other people find that they're just like, that has to be unethical because you're doing 3 times or 4 times the volume that I'm doing, or twice the volume, whatever. And surely the way that I'm running breakneck with my head cut off, I need just to catch up in any given hour. There's no way that you can be doing that volume of dentistry and still doing a good job. But I've found that that even when I was only doing the $440 an hour and I was running around trying to get exams done, and once we started working on delegation, and once I started getting my act together and my leadership together, my clinical skills, that we were able to produce what I'm doing now at a more efficient level. And here's why: I only do 6-hour days instead of 8-hour days now. And I'm still just doing, and the days a week that I'm doing per year, it used to be 200 and I think at one point I was at 239 days a year. And right now I'm, shooting for 165, and we're doing more dentistry and it's more comfortable. Have you had an evolution in your clinical skills and your clinical practice? When you brought up delegation right away, I thought, Vicki must have prompted him, because I love talking about, workflow and production. So how has that worked over the past, couple decades of your career?
I'm a little concerned for you, Chris, because I feel like you're probably not getting enough Facebook time with your schedule.
That is so sweet of you.
How are you supposed to work in? How are you supposed to work in like getting upset about things on Facebook in that time? Sounds like you're really.
Wow.
I mean, you need to think a little bit about that. I mean, production's good,
because I need to make sure that politically people know how I feel.
Exactly. There are people that are wrong on the internet, Chris. You need to fix that.
Fix it.
Don't you have to? I'm with you. I have to tell you, I am. How about this? I love what you're talking about, but I don't have the ambition to do that. The question is that okay? I think that it is.
Of course.
I think that it is. But the other thing is what you were saying is probably more important. I realized for sure that I could do better if I wanted to, but take a certain amount of time to do things. My thing is that if a person thinks that they're being super efficient and they're not getting it, that person who's convinced that what you're doing can't be done because they're running at breakneck speed, that's the person that needs help. I mean, it's one thing if a person is doing what they want to do and it's not a lot, but they love it and they're cool with it. It's another thing when they want to do more and they can't. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, because I'm going to tell you, I'm the guy who I actually clinically don't delegate very much stuff because I enjoy doing it, and I've got a lower nut. You know what I'm saying? At this point, probably if I were to add a lot of efficiency and do what you're doing, it'd be a lot of gravy, right? Like, because my expenses are pretty low as it is. So that's it.
Well, that's to be fair. When I'm acting like we're going to have some kind of urination contest is what we'll call it. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is I don't know what you're producing, but you could be producing half of it and still have more take home because you have your bills paid off and stuff. Sure. So I still bow down to the fact that you've got those debts paid off to where you're just like, hey, that's cute that you have to work that hard.
Well, but that's real too. That what you're talking about is real in a lot of ways, because I talk with Jason a lot about this. There are people that are like super okay with debt, like millions of dollars of debt because they know that that's how business. And there are people who are who won't sleep if they've got a credit card that's carrying a balance.
$5. Right.
And I mean, I think probably you could make an argument for either one of them, but if a person wants to, I don't know, it's weird. Like, cause Jason buys everything.
Okay.
I buy nothing.
Yes.
We have people on the podcast that talk about these amazing things that they have for sale services. They do all this stuff. Jason literally can't give them the credit card fast enough. Wants to do it on the podcast, and
they already have it
because I'm not going to buy it. I don't.
They
buy
have it on file.
Exactly. No, that's right. And it's weird. It's like it is funny that both of we're sort of two different people that way. And I have much more aversion to debt than he does. It does not worry him in the same way that which is to say I probably maybe look at things with a scarcity outlook where he maybe is more of an abundance outlook, kind of something like that. And I think I'm broken a little bit because, as I told you before, that's kind of how I started out in this business, right? Like I got in cheap, and so my mindset could probably change if I wanted to.
Vicky, what Alan just mentioned was that I explained that to patients clinically is when I say, hey, listen, you've got a cracked tooth, and they say, what should I do about it? And I say, well, it depends on your risk tolerance, Vicky. I say, it depends on if one patient, I explained to them, listen, you've got a crack, and if it goes into the nerve or into the bone, you're hosed, and we might have to pull that tooth because there's no recovering from that kind of pain when it's cracked thoroughly. And one patient says, oh no, let's crown this tomorrow or today. Mm-hmm. And another patient says, so what if it cracks? And then I say, well, then you'd have to have it pulled. And they go, so what if I have to have it pulled? And then I say, well, you just won't have a tooth there. And they say, so I don't care. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting because those two people can have the same scenario. And by me, it liberates me. But I see people in chats, discussing where it's like, oh no, I've got this ethical dilemma. I don't know what to tell this patient. And I'm just thinking, well, have you asked them what they want to do?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. Totally.
Right. Yeah. It takes the weight off of my shoulders. I'm not making the right or the wrong decision for that patient because according to their risk tolerance, they've made that choice. Vicky, how have you noticed that with people with consulting and how they handle that?
Oh, Lord.
You were like, I wasn't expecting the question.
Wow, made me step into the consultant ed.
I suppose.
No, well, I think this is really interesting. The difference between Alan and Jason is very similar to you and I.
Yes.
Because Alan, Chad and I have these conversations all the time about debt reductions versus savings, good debt, bad debt, and all of that. And he has his position and I have mine, and we lovingly respect each other.
Right.
Right. Because I'm like, get out of debt. And he's going to be debt free by the time he's 40. He's still a baby.
That's the goal.
And I want him to have a stockpile of money as well. So,
and I agree with that. I just say, I'll have a stockpile, but just give me the year to pay off the debt first. Then, I'm just that close. And I totally get it. There's basically
that 4 years ago.
That's true. No, to be fair, that is true. But you know what?
It's funny, the debt doesn't go away as quickly when you buy stuff. I found that too. That's the other thing.
Right.
That's sort of the Jason angle on it. Yeah.
Alan, there are two philosophies, though. I oversimplify it by saying there's two philosophies. One is Dave Ramsey plan. Yeah. And the other is kind of rich dad, poor dad, debt management. And I get that cerebrally. I get that should be the way that it works, but there's also the risk that creates stress in how you make decisions according to your debt load. So I understand too, if someone is purposefully taking on a debt, let's say you're debt free as you are, and then you go, you know what, I want to buy 40 more acres of land, and you know what, that's going to be a 2-year payment, and so I'll do it. See, but you could manage that because it would be like, okay, I've calculated it out, this is what it's going to be. But when it starts to become, okay, let's see, 80% of my paycheck is dwindled before I even see it. Yeah. And then the 10% goes to taxes and 10% goes to me. I get to keep half of whatever was left over. It's just like, well, that's ridiculous. But more and more, that's the millennial outcome.
Yeah.
Hey, let me put a bow on this because oh my God, this is so fun to watch the two of you. It's like you've known each other since kindergarten in the playpen. Really smooth flow. But I'm picking up on some really powerful everyday practices. Number one, figure out what you're passionate about. Alan, you're really passionate on the clinical side. You're very hands-on that way. Chad is a fantastic clinician, but more passionate on the business side, kind of balances that out. And it's fun to see that you both have you listened to that and you found a way to make that work in your practice. So Chad, I'm going to take my 8 hours, cut out all that inefficient time, put it in 6 hours and delegate more and produce more. Why? Because I got a big nut to crack.
Sure.
I got debt. I got
But
stuff,
Chad, right? When did you graduate from dental school?
05.
Okay. So
13 years.
Okay.
So you're living on the horrible end of debt, but
it was still, Alan, when I was a sophomore and I walked into the bank across the street, and I'm in a small suburb of Des Moines, so it's bigger, but it's also smaller. It's kind of the best of both worlds as far as Iowa's concerned. And I went in and I said, hey, I'm going to be graduating in a couple of years. I'm not even a dentist at this point, but I've got this plan. And he said, wow, that your plan is really detailed. I love this Excel file and all this stuff. And he said, how much do you want? And I said, $426,000. He said, okay, you know what? Let's give you that. And then a $200,000 of working capital. We'll make it for $626. Here you go. And that's how I started.
First off, that bank was listening to you.
Yes. Well, and it was before regulation. It really was. It was, this was 04-ish.
What do you feel? You feel like you could do that now, even if you're the same person, but it's just you're a dental student now. Where would the hang up be now?
I do. I'm so delusional that I think I could probably still walk in, but the hang up wouldn't be me. I'm a can-do kind of guy. I would probably have to go to 10 different financing options and find the worst one that says yes. Yeah. And they'll make it happen. But when I say yes, I'm just that can-do kind of guy. But I think by and large, I think there were out of a class of 80 at the time, or we had 74, but on average about 80 at the University of Iowa. There might be 3 of us that were starting from scratch. And so it was very rare then. It's almost impossible.
It takes a rare breed. I think the amount of debt that they have makes it that much harder.
It does.
Because when you're doing a startup like you had, they can't ignore the amount of debt that a student's going to come out. I don't know. I haven't, as I said, I haven't tried to get financing for much in a long time. Certainly not a new practice. And I know Jason does, he's looking at another startup. He's insane. But so, I mean, he's going to be going through all this stuff, and he has struggled with financing, even though he's been out for, he graduated in 2002. He's had multiple practices, all this stuff. And I think that banks have to look a little harder.
Yes.
It's just, I don't really understand the banking industry that much, but they don't like to back someone who they don't think can come through in a big way. And it is funny that you said that they also want to tack on the working capital thing, because they like your plan, but they also know that everyone's plan, they don't plan for stuff. And that's
right.
thus they tacked that on you.
And this goes full circle.
Yeah.
Because when you remember when I said when you get half an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours for your new patient, like you'll take use of it. He gave me 200,000. Guess how much I used? 200,000.
Yeah.
If he only would have. What's funny is right at the 18-month mark, I was starting to get self-sufficient, and I had used that last little bit of the $200,000. And I thought, I bet if he gave me 400,000, I would have used 400. And if he would have given me 20,000, I would have only been able to use 20,000.
My brain going, oh my God, really? That's
I know.
It's funny, but it is. It's like the debt averse versus but as when you're comfortable using it as a tool and you know what you want, that's not so scary.
That's where I was. And then there comes a point where I've just been sick of it. So Vicky, if she would have met me, at that point, she would have been like, all right, this guy's a rich dad, poor dad, debt management kind of guy. And then at this point on the tail end of it, I just go, I'm so sick of it. It really does.
I'm really glad you're sick of it. I'm really glad you're sick.
Well, absolutely. It's healthy to be, yes. You don't want to see me saying, man, I love my debt. I don't know what I'm going to do without it.
Who was there when you wanted to buy the big house saying, no?
Oh, geez. My wife.
Come on. Your wife and I. Your work
wife. Okay. Yes.
Wife.
And you.
Oh my God.
That's a story for another time. Right.
So, Alan, this is fantastic. Again, we can't wait to be with you in Scottsdale at Voices of Dentistry.
People have to realize too that you guys are sort of critical to this. You guys have been, this will be the third year that you guys have been a huge part of the meeting. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Jason and I get you two on stage.
That's true.
We do.
Technically, the Dental Hacks are interviewing the Everyday Practices crew on stage. So I'm pretty sure that's happening.
That is happening.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw Jason to the wolves. I'm gonna throw Jason. He has no idea what he's getting into.
Well,
I'm totally just gonna I'm gonna have him fight about debt and stuff. It'll be good.
Well, you just tell Jason that, he beat me up so bad that first year that, I'm coming armed with bear. I got Chad with me this year.
That's right.
My defender.
She was so beat up the first time she brought someone with, but you were on stage with Mark last year too. So she's a veteran of the Voices of Dentistry stage.
I think I'm like one of 3 women that are allowed to come. So you just put me on stage.
I hate to say that, but what happens with podcasting is it tends to be a kind of a nerdy crowd. I'm not sure if you're proud of that or not, that I said that, Vicky. But
I am proud of that. In fact, it was that statement last year. I said, Mark, are you working to not attract women? And he looks around and he goes, what are you talking about? And I go, well, there's not a lot of us here. Do you market to women or what? He goes, wow. He goes, there's just not a lot of female podcasters. If you want women to come, you should start a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I went, all right, well, you tell me how. And so kudos to Mark and Ashley and the crew. They said, order this microphone and get on Zoom and do this and do that.
Cool.
So that's how Everyday Practices started. And I really wanted to be more like your format with you and Jason and find interesting people to talk to and figure out what their success formulas were. So we've had a lot of fun with Everyday Practices.
It's awesome. And I think just so people know too, in the crowd, there's probably more women than our podcasters too.
That's true. There are 11 of them in the audience.
Yeah, that's right. There's more than 4. Exactly.
No, and I do hope to spread the word so that more women come, because it's leading edge stuff. It's really
it is
interesting things, and you learn as much in the hallway as you do sitting in the stage. So it's a fun program.
Well, I love rubbing elbows with eagles. Do eagles have elbows? We'll have to find out. But you get what I'm saying. Hey, we have one final question. Vicky, can you ask the question?
No, you've got to ask it.
All right, Alan. I'm going to prep you for a second, but we're going to ask, and you have to just say, it's not a right or wrong, but you have to just say what you feel is the right answer. One word. Okay. Here's your choices.
Okay.
Bacon or eggs?
Bacon.
There you go.
There you go.
Listeners, thanks for coming on, and Alan as well. I appreciate you coming on and joining us today. We're looking forward to seeing you at the Voices of Dentistry conference.
Thank you for having me on. This is great.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with everyday practices.